So, how is everybody on this fine Monday evening at 5 p.m. Central Time over here at Sty Times? Bet you it's great to see you folks here. A couple of my dear friends out there just chatting away out in the chat. Uh, um, hopefully we'll get some folks to pile on in here this evening. Here's your chance. Good time to share it out. Good time to share it out. Let everybody know we're hanging out over here. And we're going to be talking about some of the best people in the world today. My sound is awful. My sound is awful. Coach me, guys. Coach me. I don't know why my sound would be awful. Doggone it. Let's check my microphone. See. Back that up a little bit. And looking at all my settings, everything's good on this end. Yeah, sorry if the sound is bad. I don't know why it would be. Sounds like I'm in an aquarium. Oh, maybe I am kind of congested. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. Hey, Kirk Whipper, it's good to see you there, Tim. Eileen. So you're having trouble too. Gosh, I don't know, guys. I don't know what could be wrong with the sound. Everything on this end is showing that the mic is being picked up. It's showing, I'm looking at the sound bar and it's picking everything up okay on this end, and so I don't know what's going on. That could be bad sound. So let me go down, come back up. You guys hang on tight. We want to try to fix this sound. This will only take me a moment. I just want to make sure I don't lose my live stream while I'm doing it. So I'll be right back, guys. I'm back. Let me know. And I do have to say my voice is off today. I'm a little hoarse today. Is it much better? Great. Okay, that worked. That worked then. Okay, wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. The lot of wonderful folks out there, like I was saying, B Wizzles out there. That's awesome. It's great to see you guys. Like I was trying to say, I hope that you can get this shared out a little bit. We can get more folks over here. Mr. Fulton says, Sty, I was wondering if I could be a guest on your show sometime. Okay, at the top of the chat, there's a link to leave feedback. And in that feedback, make sure to tell me that's who you are, and I need your email address. And there's some comments you can leave in there about wanting to be on the show. So that's the place to make your request. And those requests, I've got several, so I haven't a clue when that will happen. So, but that's the place to get a request in to be a special guest up here on the show. Uh, so, and don't forget, folks, I'm not just telling Mr. Fulton to check up there. All of you know, feel free to leave feedback. It says at the top, your feedback is more than welcome, and it surely is. And I've been getting quite a bit of feedback through that form. So that form is handy. It's just 6 questions, takes about a minute, if that, to fill out the questionnaire. Most of them are one-click answers anyway. So tonight's topic. I couldn't help myself because I say it all the time that, yeah, I've known a lot of animals that are some of the best people I ever met. Spicy is saying you want to take all requests to Helen Waite. Make sure you go to Helen Waite. Yeah, that's right, right. And the beatings will continue until morale improves. Yes, and all of your input can go to Helen Waite, and she'll get it to me, right? Hey, Ingalls family, it is great to see you. I have to apologize that I'm so hoarse. I've been on the phone almost all day. I have some good news before I get into the topic of this evening. As of 2:22 p.m. Central Time yesterday afternoon, Sty North became a grandpa for the 16th time. I want to welcome my new granddaughter, Fawn, and I'm looking at my notes. I don't have length, weight, or anything. She was born a month early, and she's 110% healthy. The doctor is so happy with her progress, and my daughter is doing well. That everything went right to schedule. So yeah, I grandpa for the 16th time. I really don't think that's going to happen again now. I think that's where it's going to end. 16 grandkids. I got 16 grandkids, 2 great grandchildren. I think that's enough for any one man to be proud of. Yeah. Oh, Eileen. Oh, I can't stay long, Sty. San Antonio is having controlled outages due to the snow and frigid weather. Yeah, I saw that. I have family in San Antonio area, and they messaged me and said they were having periodic outages, and that not to worry about them because they got generators and things at their homes, so they're in good shape. But thank you so much, Eileen. Thank you. So let's talk about animals. Animals, some of the best people I ever met. Now, I'm probably like most people out there. I cannot remember a time growing up. I mean, right from the get-go, I cannot remember a time that we did not have animals in our life. You know, we either had our domestic pets, or my grandparents had a farm. They had all the farm animals. And then as I became an adult, I always had an animal involved in my life. You know, I always had my favorite pets, and I had farm animals for quite a period of time. And the one thing I did learn over 60 years is that animals actually act like people just as much, if not more, than people act like animals. I I cannot stress enough that if you develop a relationship with an animal, a pet, a farm animal, even wild animals, if you develop a relationship with an animal, you'll find before long how much personality any animal has. And you'll find out that animals are so unlike us humans. They've got a way about them that doesn't seem natural, uh, because we have different things about us that animals, they just, they don't even have that concept. Uh, Loyalty, for one thing. Animals just stay loyal. They're not loyal for a week and then unloyal for a week and then loyal for a week and unloyal for a week. But people can be that way, come and go. Animals don't. They're consistent in their feelings and what they do. I've never, yeah, me dibble, I'm sorry. I apologize. Saying that people act like animals is insulting to the animals. Well, I think they just titled the two different species differently, you know. They should have called the animals humans and called the rest of us animals, you know. And oh, I am so sorry. Yeah, like I said, I've been talking all dang day, and then I got this hour show. Uh, but uh, one thing with animals is if they become attached to you, that's unconditional. How many times have you stepped on your dog's paw or your cat's paw and they let out a heck of a screech and you could tell it really hurt? And what do when you're going, oh, I am so sorry? They come snuggling up to you like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, I'm good with it, it's okay. People don't do that. It's, hey, you stepped on my damn toes, I'll punch you in the nose for that, you know? No. Animals, once they've attached themselves to someone or something, it's unconditional. Unconditional. I've never had a single animal in my life that didn't develop that unconditional loyalty to me or to my family. And I don't understand why people can't take more of an example from some of their pets. Um, Now, I do see, for me, people, animals under certain conditions should be treated just like people. Now, if your animal gets ill, what do? You try to cure whatever the issue is. You don't want your animal to suffer. If you can't fix it, off to the vet, to the animal doctor. Well, that's what you would do with your own child. That's what you would do with a spouse or a brother or sister. And most people don't think twice. I got to take care of that animal. But there's a lot of people in the world that don't take on that responsibility of, if that animal's going to give you its unwavering devotion and love, no matter what happens, then why can't we always give it back? I see people abuse animals, and it makes me wonder, do they abuse children too? Do they slap a kid that made a mistake instead of explaining to that child, you know, this is how it should have gone, but I love you anyway. I love you anyway. We all make mistakes. But if you're beating your dog because it got so overexcited because of something that happened traumatically in the house and it peed a little on the floor and you start beating the dog for it. You have a little one, a child, gets overexcited and they're just getting potty trained and they peed their pants. Do you slap that child for it? The difference is humans. You slap a human around enough, eventually they get older, they get bigger, and they can turn mean on you. If the dog really loves its owner, it doesn't turn mean on them. It just hopes it doesn't get beat up again. Now, on the subject of them being the best people I ever met, I've had my butt saved on 3 major occasions in my lifetime. My wife actually was protected by one of our dogs. And talk about the lack of self-preservation when it comes to a dog protecting its master. Or I hate that term master because you should be a friend to your dog, not a master. And the one situation with me was I had this dog. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see him in this picture, but I found an old picture. This picture's over 30 years old. This dog is long passed away, but maybe you can see him in there down at the bottom. Little white, black, and gray. He's a little husky mix. And his name was Gunter. Gunter. And I took Gunter with me up in the backcountry. That picture, he was still quite young. When I took him up in the backcountry with me on this occasion, he was probably a couple years older than that. But I went up in the backcountry all by myself, solo hike up there. And I thought, what the heck? Gunter wanted to go with me so bad. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll take you away. We got way up in the backcountry. And I was coming down through what they call a slide area. It's all just broken up shale and rock. And there's a little path that goes down, weaves down through this big hillside of rock. And at the base of that, there was a nice mountain lake. Now, mind you, I'm about 9 miles in the backcountry, 9 miles from the nearest home that would have a telephone. We're going down through that slide area, and all of a sudden, Gunter was always right by my side. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't wander off or anything. He stayed right by my side all the time. And all of a sudden, I realized, looked down, and he's not there. And I could hear rocks clink, 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 coming down that slide. So I turned around and looked up, and there's Gunter, and he's got one very large, very, very large sow bear, female bear, right on his tail. And he's running horizontally to where I'm at, across that slide with that bear right on his tail. And then I noticed out of the corner of my eye, there's 2 cubs. I had not been paying good enough attention, and I walked right in the path of a mother bear with her 2 cubs. He caught it. He went up and distracted her and got her to chase him across that slide instead of coming directly down to me. I started running down that hill. I stepped on a rock bed and I busted up the heel of my foot. I went tumbling down. I landed in this little mountain meadow by the lake, come rolling out onto that mountain meadow. And as I hit the ground, I was peeling. I had disconnected my strap on my pack. And I swung around, got a hold of my rifle and pulled it out, took aim, just in case she come down that trail right after me. And all I saw was her butt going into the woods on the opposite side of the slide. I heard a couple of yips, and I thought, oh no, oh no. I think she got Gooner. And I was getting my pack back together and keep my eyes out for her. And then here she comes out of the woods, and I see her. She walks over to her cubs, and her cubs head up the mountain. They didn't come my way. Well, I thought for sure I had lost Gooner. And Gunter comes out of nowhere, comes out of the base of the woods down by the lake, and he comes running over to me. And I could see he had a little patch of hair missing on his butt end. So she must have got a swat on him. And he come running up to me just as proud as can be. And he's jumping on me and he's licking me and he's just loving me to death. It almost brought me to tears because here, that dog laid his life out on the line. For what other reason than he just had unconditional love and care for his master. So Gunter and I, boy, we were glued to each other all the time for a couple of years. This, circumstances were such where we had to relocate, and I had to let a couple of dogs go. And it took quite a bit for me to find a home that Gunter liked. I had two people, wanted them really bad, and I could tell he didn't like it there. He didn't like it there. But I found somebody that he liked it. He liked it. And so he got a good home. He got a good home. And I heard that he lived to be 21. So yeah, and he was only maybe 6 when I got rid of him. But very devoted, very devoted. I had another dog out in Montana by the name of Boo Boo, and he was another one. You talk about loyal. And Boo Boo had the best expressions. He'd look at you sad. If he thought you were sad, he'd look sad at you. And he had this goofy looking smile he'd get. And he only got it when everybody else is having a good time, everybody's happy, and old Boo Boo would be sitting there like he's grinning away. And he always knew if you weren't feeling well, he'd come over and he'd nudge up lightly up against the side of you and just sit there and let you pet him all day if you wanted. And he'd stick by you. Well, my wife was out hiking one day and Boo Boo was with her, and she heard a bunch of noise off in the woods, and she looked off in the woods, and there was a big male bear running through the woods, and Boo Boo's right on his tail, chasing the bear. That was a reverse situation. That bear got too close to the wife, and Boo Boo, he stepped right up. She didn't know the bear was there. He did. He was going to chase it off, keep it away from her. We found out later that was a rogue bear that they had troubles with, and it had attacked a couple of hikers. So she was in a bad situation, didn't even know it, but the dog knew, and the dog took care of her. And Boo Boo was another one where he's one of the best people I ever knew. Best people I ever knew. The the thing is I've known too many people in the past where a pet is a possession. That's the way they see it. Is that pet is nothing but an item. It doesn't have feelings. It's not something that you have to care for other than feed. All you do is feed that dang thing. And I've seen so many people that are that way with pets where they don't get to know the pet. They just own it. It's mine. That's my dog. I've seen folks take perfectly nice animals and turn them into mean animals. And they're proud of themselves because they taught the animal to be mean. And they don't have a clue that they've just taken the quality of life away from that animal by turning it mean. And my heart breaks when I see people that mistreat animals for the intention of making that animal mean. I had a fella say, well, I need guard dogs around my shop here. So he had a pair of boxers and he beat them all the time and they were meaner than sin. And he kept them in the shop because he didn't want outsiders in his shop. He did a lot of different mechanical work, repaired cars, trucks, tractors, skidders. That's all he did was push a wrench. But he didn't want anybody inside his shop, so he taught these two boxers to be nasty and mean. Nobody would come inside the shop. Now he taught them to be mean like that, but he also taught them they can't step outside the doors of the shop. I had people say, boy, he's got those dogs trained so well, they won't step outside the door of the shop and this and that. Boy, those are obedient dogs. And I told him, boy, you should have seen how he taught them. He would sit there and he would actually encourage them to step across the door sill. And then he'd hit them with a 2x4 for stepping outside the garage, outside the shop. Didn't take long, and them dogs decided, don't ever step outside the door. You're going to get hit in the head with a 2x4. That's all they knew. That's all they knew. They didn't know anything better. And they were never treated nicely by this fella. Never treated nicely by this fella. And, I feel for the guy. He had an accident several years after he had those dogs. And those two dogs ended up being taken by his brother out to the farm. He said his brother said, I couldn't believe it. We got there and he said the first thing they did was they ran to his garage. And they sat in the garage. He said he could go in the garage. They'd let him pet them because he knew the dogs ever since they had been pups. He could pet them, feed them, but he couldn't get them to come out of the garage. They thought they were supposed to guard the garage. One of them ended up biting a friend of his that walked into the garage, and he didn't know the guy was there. He was in the garage working at the bench, and all of a sudden he heard that guy let out a yell, and he turned around, and one of those boxers had a hold of the guy's leg. And it took him a couple of years to finally get those boxers to realize that wasn't their life anymore. You don't bite people, and you can leave the garage. Well, the last time I saw that pair of boxers, they were the friendliest doggone dogs you ever saw. And I'm a firm believer that all dogs have a personality, and we're going to talk about that as soon as I come back. Now, this is for my members out there. I got to run this at halftime every show, and I'll be right back in about a minute. Okay, guys? Thanks for your patience through that. I have to shout out my members every stream. They're wonderful folks, every one of them. It's good to see you, Will the Rocker. Okay, now the thing with that, and why I always stress animals are some of the best people I ever met is because I am a firm believer every animal has a personality. They're just like people in that sense. Some of them are just as friendly as can be. Some of them, they don't. I don't care for you guys. I don't want nothing to do with you. the I had, and I saw the discussions over there, about guard dogs and the like, and the Saucy Shane saying that the 17-pound dachshund is the best guard dog I've ever had. All natural training. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. One of my best guard dogs ever, or I should say, one of the dogs I had that thought it was the best guard dog ever was this little character. That's Lulu. She was about a 7-pound, maybe 8-pound little Chihuahua that thought she was a Doberman. I mean, she was the boss. Oh my God, was she the boss? But she was such a good guard dog. She had the best hearing of any dog I ever owned. Nothing could get anywhere near the Sty Shack out there in the wilderness without her knowing it. And I could tell almost what it was out there by her reactions. Sometimes she'd growl and go to the door. Sometimes she'd go to her bed, lay down in her bed and start barking. Sometimes she'd come over to me and sit right next to me and growl. Well, each one of those ways of her acting meant there was a certain type of animal out there. And when we had timber wolves that would come right into camp, right within 40, 50 feet of the Sty Shack. Now they'd slink on in there just quiet, but Lulu would come right up to my side. She'd get right next to me, and she'd sit there and she'd get a deep-throated growl. And I knew we had timber wolves close to the Sty Shack. Now, as she laid in her bed and was just barking and barking and barking, we had coyotes close in that I didn't hear, but she heard. And she had this kind of a on and off bark that she did if she heard someone talking or walking into camp or a vehicle coming up our road into the camp area. But all I had to do was say to her, "Everything's okay, Lou." Then she acted like, "Oh, well, then everything's okay." She had quite the personality. When we only went to town once a month, and I'd go to the bank, I'd go to the stores I needed to go to get my month's supplies, and it never failed. It never failed. One time I stopped at McDonald's. Now, I don't eat at McDonald's often. That's very rare. And I stopped at McDonald's, and I thought, what the heck? So I ordered her a cheeseburger without any fixings or the bun, just the burger. They laughed. They said, "Yeah, that happens at times. People do that. It's for your dog, right?" I said, "Yeah." Well, they didn't realize that standard hamburger, that is a big meal for that little Chihuahua. She chowed down that hamburger on that trip, and every trip after that. I'm not kidding you, folks. I proved it to a couple of other friends too, just to show this is true. if she can see the golden arches, she was right in my lap at the driver's window, looking at me, then barking out the window, looking at me, barking out the window, all the way till we got to the golden arches. And if I drove by, then she'd jump in the passenger seat, sit down, look at me, and growl like I'm pissed off at you, buddy. Where's my cheeseburger? We don't go to town without cheeseburgers, you know. For 3 years, I had to, every time I went to town, I had to either sneak way around the outside of town and around so that she could not see those arches. And then she was fine. But if she saw those arches, I had better stop there and get her cheeseburger. I loved it. I loved it. That just the fact that and like Will saying that puppy dogs are very smart. They are very, very smart. Hi, Hike with Mike. And now I'm going to take it away from the domestic side. I'm going to go to the agricultural side. I had ducks, chickens, geese, turkeys, cattle. I had beef and dairy and hogs and horses. Of all of them, there were certain ones of them that had specific personalities, as if they were like pets. It was tough for me because I was raising them to eat them, not to become their buddies, you know. Well, a couple of them got to live long lives because they just wouldn't quit warming up to me. Well, I had a pair of African geese. They've got this big black knob on their foreheads. They're just big, and they're big geese, boy. Well, mine, the only way I could tell was is I weighed myself, grabbed a goose, and got back on the scale and split the difference, kind of deal. And both of those geese weighed out between 26 and 30 pounds. That's big for a goose. Well, they're mean as sin. Now you talk about watchdogs. Those geese, if somebody came in onto our farm and they're heading up to the house, those geese would come around from the side of the house, go right after them, like, you get out of here, nobody invited you, kind of thing. So I had to step out and intervene all the time. It didn't take long to realize that when I'd step out, and we named them Hansel and Gretel, and because they were a matched pair, mating pair, and I'd go out there, and Hansel was, he's a big boy, he's the one, he's in charge, and I'd get out there, and all I'd have to do is tap him on the bill, boom, say, Hansel, that's a good person, you leave him alone, stop. That person could come back anytime after that, and the geese would start honking, come running around the house, see it's them, and then stop. But a stranger shows up, they'd raise holy heck until I came out there. And I had a few people, hey, your geese got me cornered up against the corner of the house here, help. But those geese would do anything I asked them to do. I'd go out, sit in a lawn chair, and they'd come up on either side of me, and they'd stick their bills under my ears and go quack, 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 like they're whispering to me. And then I'd turn and I'd just say to them, say what? And they'd honk just loud. And then they calm down and they start quacking again, quack, 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 quack. And people laugh their asses off watching that. But they were awesome. They were awesome animals. And Hansel and Gretel had two completely different personalities. And here they are, just livestock, right? Well, we found that many of our livestock were that way. Our horses, and I love horses. I worked with them for a long time. And I found that horses too. Horses are smarter than most people give them credit for. I'll tell you what, very, very intelligent. I had one out in Montana. Her name was Easy, and for good reason. I rode her up in the back country just for a day ride. And on the way back down, well, I had been working my tail off the week before, and I was just beat. I just wanted to get away from everything. And on the way back, she was such a comfortable ride, that horse. She had the smoothest gait you could have ever imagined. I fell asleep in the saddle. I woke up in town at the cafe. I was going to ride in, stop at the cafe, because they had hitching rails out there for people on horseback. I was going to stop at the cafe, have a cup of coffee, a piece of pie, and let her take a break. And then it was another couple miles to home. I woke up and I'm at the cafe. She had come all the way off of the top of this mountain, followed the trails, and those trails broke off different directions all over, coming down off that mountain. Nope. I slept on the way down. She took me all the way to that cafe. And she was such a good horse that I walked out of that cafe. I didn't have to tether. I didn't tie her to the hitching rail. I ride her up to the hitching rail, get off, and she'd stand with her chin over the rail. She ain't going nowhere. She's not tied, tethered at all. I come out of that restaurant, and all I did, 20 feet away from her, all I did was say, "Easy, let's walk home." It's about a couple miles. And all I said was, "Easy, let's walk home." All the way home, her muzzle is just right over my left shoulder, and she'd nuzzle me in the face once in a while, and she just followed behind all the way home. And that's the way she was. I could step out, and all I had to do was one whistle or yell, "Easy, let's go for a ride." I could hear her coming across the property, and she'd come running right up. "Let's go, let's go." She was all excited. And she had such a personality. Again, such a personality. I had hurt myself one time when we were up in the backcountry. Not bad, not real bad. But she didn't want to leave my side. Doggone horse in your camp. And I got a beautiful spot for her to hang out in and put some feed down for her. And nope. She comes walking right into camp, standing right by the stinking campfire, and she's nudging me with her muzzle. All she was doing was checking on me. She just wasn't satisfied that I was okay. Well, I was hurting, and she knew it. She knew it. Yeah. Oh yeah, a nice fast canter is actually a good canter. Is a comfortable ride. Yeah. But let's take it beyond that again. Wild animals. They've got personalities just like any other animal. I have seen so many people befriend squirrels, skunks, raccoons. I've known too many guys with raccoons. I think raccoons are hilarious. They're funny, and I'm glad other people want to take care of a raccoon. I want to watch. They are so mischievous. It's pitiful. A badger. I did a Sty story. Boy, that's probably 2 years ago, about a badger. This old guy owned a big, huge piece of property out in the middle of the backcountry, out in the woods. Nobody for miles and miles anywhere around him. And he's got a badger living under the wood stove in his kitchen. He's got a big wood-burning cook stove. floorboard missing underneath it. A great big, big, big badger living underneath this wood stove. We went out there. We had business with the guy, and that badger come out from underneath that wood stove to check us out, and he told us, "Don't make any fast moves. Just sit still until he checks you all out." And that thing's kind of growling at us, and he's sniffing our pant legs and the like. And this guy fed him something, and that badger went back under the wood stove down his hole. So the idea that domestic animals, they make such good friends, doesn't really hold true, because there's a lot of folks that have befriended wild animals, and they're just as devoted. They're, you just can't. How to put it is almost impossible, because an animal, once it decides that it unconditionally loves you, you're stuck with them. You're stuck with them. I've had the misfortune of having to put animals down, and animals of my own were the toughest, because my animals, whenever they had to be put down, even in the worst circumstances, they would submit to what they knew you were doing, what they knew was coming, and they would willfully submit to it. So I wash my hands of that. I wash my hands of that. I don't put animals down anymore. Oh no, I go hungry for 2 months to pay the cost to have them euthanized chemically. I will not put an animal down for anybody, let alone myself. And I got to the point where it's all my pets. I would have to say all my pets for the last 25 years, they all died of old age, natural causes, because I refuse to put them down. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that, and that because they were too devoted to me. I will, if I have them put down, it'll be medically, because I don't want them to suffer in any sense. You had a chipmunk that would always greet you when you got home from school. That is so cool. Last year out at camp, I had I hated him with a passion, but it was a love-hate relationship, because really he was awesome and his personality was awesome. I had Frankenmonk. I call him Frankenmonk out at camp, and oh boy, he was a character. He was a character, and he didn't act the same way at any other campsites. Only in my campsite did he act the way he did. And again, smart as the devil, little chipmunk, smart as can be. But I found that you can sit there with a pet, or just even a wild chipmunk. You can sit there and actually carry a conversation with them. People say, well, you're not carrying a conversation because it's one-sided. Well, not always. Not always. That Frankenmuck, I'd tell him what I think of him, and he'd sit there and he'd chirp back at me. And then he'd walk off, and he's not chirping anymore. He's only chirping at me because I'm chewing him out, telling him, you little monster, And but it's only the rarest event that I've ever encountered an animal where I did not like that animal. Not because it could eat me or something like that. No, because of its personality or the way it acted. And I don't like that animal. Now, I've run into animals where I've not liked their owners. because their animal is reflecting how the owner has taken care of them. So I I tell people, if you're out in the woods and you're all alone, you're feeling lonely, find a chipmunk or a squirrel that isn't too afraid of you and enjoy the company of the animals, because they are some of the best people you'll ever meet. Some of the best people you'll ever meet. The I did hear, I didn't hear, I saw this cartoon in a outhouse out in northwestern Montana, and it showed this big grizzly bear sitting there, and there's a bunch of campers, backpacks and clothes laying around, and there's another bear standing by him, and he's saying to that other bear, "Those are some of the best people you could ever eat." Yeah. So for some animals, I don't think they see it as best people you could ever meet. You might be one of the best people you could ever eat, but the yeah, yeah, Mike, calm people, calm animals. That's what. Yeah, yeah. That's I. I've seen it too often. I've seen it too often in my lifetime where I'd see how that animal would react to things, and then I look at the owner and I go, "Wow, it's just put a fur coat on the owner. That's all you did." Um, I met this one fellow. I mentioned it the other night in one of the chats we were having. Fella that had a beautiful golden lab that he beat all the time, and I didn't know he was beating that dog. And I was standing there one day, and I after watching him beat that dog, and I said to the dog, and the guy heard me say it. I go, "You need to tear him up someday. Next time he hits you, chew him up." Just about a week later, I run into the guy, and the guy's he's got stitches, cuts and stitches, and band-aids all over his arms. And I go, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" He says, "I don't know." But he said, "I had my dog in the truck, and he said he was acting up. He's barking out the window, and he shouldn't have been doing that. So I smacked him." And he says, and he turned on me and he started tearing me up in the truck. He says, he said, "I got a hold of animal control and I wanted to have him put down." And he said, "But somebody said they'd take him, that not to put him down. And I found out who took him, and the dog was doing fine. The dog only got even with the guy. The dog finally had enough." So I know some people got mad at me because I said, that guy had it coming. That dog did the right thing. It finally gave up on that devotion to that takes a hell of a lot to get an animal to give up its unconditional love for you. I mean, that dog put up with it for, from what I understand, about 3.5, 4 years. He took beatings from that guy, and the dog finally decided, "You're not beating me anymore." It just happened that he did it a week after I told him, "Bite him." You tear it, or don't let him beat you, you poor dog. And he was such the nicest golden lab you ever saw. So friendly and liked everybody. But you could tell he was just scared of his master. Loved everybody, but scared of that guy. That's the yeah, me Dibble. We're coming to the top of this 1 hour show, so the show's ending anyway. Um, so thanks for being here, me Dibble. That was awesome to see you. Yes, Mr. Fulton. I look at those forms. I'll be looking at them a little later this evening, and and I'll check it out. And the JCT, hello. It's good to see you. I want to thank you all for coming and hanging out today. I knew the show wouldn't be a big ticket item because I actually had people say, well, I don't even have to watch the show because I already agree with you. uh, yeah, yeah. Now, Wednesday night show, I hope you all show up for that. Yeah, we're going to be talking on a subject that might seem a little unusual for the title, but there's a lot to talk about on that topic. So I'm hoping that I'll see a good group of folks Wednesday night. And I do realize it is Monday evening. Everybody went through their first work day of the week. Well, not everybody, but most people. And it's tough. It's tough. It's at 5 p.m. Central Time, so it would be at 6 p.m. for you, JCT. Yeah. Well, thanks, Shane. I just love the fact that you're here. Love the fact that you're here. And I apologize for being hoarse tonight. Not, yeah, for being a horse tonight. At least I tried not to be a horse's ass. So I want to thank everybody that was here last Friday. Yes, Goani. And because last Friday was a blast having Samantha Lee's originals up here as a guest, and we'll see. We'll see. I was planning on doing a guest every 2 weeks, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I don't know if I'll surprise you this week or not, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Lots of topics. We got lots of topics. So the next one, it's kind of serious and funny, a little back and forth. So the next topic should be a good one. We got some funny ones coming up too. So there's forest permaculture. Hi, Sty and fellow Earthlings. Yeah, we are all fellow Earthlings, aren't we? It was awesome, guys. I was so happy that you all came here and hung out. Now, if you watch this closing little video at the end, this little clip, it'll tell you what next week's topic will be, and or this Wednesday. So tomorrow's my day off, and I'll see you all on Wednesday evening. You all take very good care of yourselves. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.